Hey there, today we're going to look at the pop art movement that happened in America in the 1950s and 1960s. These are four examples of pop art images that involve words. Some of the earliest pop art images did not involve words, they involved pictures of celebrities or pictures of products like common items people could buy, like tomato soup. And one of the most famous artists in the pop art movement got his own museum in Pittsburgh. He is originally from Pittsburgh. His name is Andy Warhol. There is in Pittsburgh the Andy Warhol Bridge and the Andy Warhol Museum. We're not looking at Andy Warhol today. Instead, we're looking at a different pop artist whose first name was Roy. His last name was Lichtenstein. And Roy Lichtenstein, he was one of the pop artists that started to have his images look a little more like comic strips and almost sort of like cartoon images. So what we're going to do today, inspired by Roy Lichtenstein, is choose a short positive word. You see that Roy's words here, I don't believe these images were made by Roy. They were inspired by Roy. They look very much like his work. But these images are noises. So wham, bang, kaboom, pow. These are sort of noise words, and ours are not going to be like that. Ours are going to be positive words such as hope, luck, struggling to think of some others now. Love would be another good positive word for the month of February. So I'm going to set this aside and show you how to work on block letters or bubble letters. These ones are block letters because they have straight sides. Let's look at that first. So I've got just a blank piece of paper. That is all you'll need today. I'm going to keep this nearby, my example nearby. But so let me help you know an easy way to create block letters if you're not familiar with them. I want you to know I'm going to use the word love in my artwork because of the month of February. If you want to do the same, that's fine with me. And I want you to know that one day you'll be good enough to just dive right in and think about the letter in a thicker format like this. But if you're not this good just yet, so there's my word. If that seems a little too hard for you, one thing you could do is just write very, very lightly the letters that you need. So I'll show you this with just L-O-V. I won't do the E, just for sake of time. After writing the letter the normal way with just a singular line, you then, with a heavier line, go out around it. Anytime a letter ends, like here, you box it off and go around. I'll come over and do that for the V too. Ends of the V get that box shape as they come around. And then the O, we just have to add that center part. Then you remove by erasing your original light line. I'm sure now you see why it makes sense to make that line a little lighter. So whichever way you need to tackle this, we need our four-letter word in block letters, nice and large on our paper. And you see I've done that here. Next, we're going to look at things like these lightning bolts, stars, and these moving clouds. You've got some options here. Because they're the most forward thing in this artwork, the other shapes in the back would be behind there. We're going to do these first. So I'll leave this here for a moment so you can see some inspiration. We've got these sort of, shapes that are popping out, lightning bolts, stars with lines behind them. I like this sort of circle on, or the shape here, the explosion shape on top of the letter O. So I'll leave these nearby while we dive into ours. So I'm going to do a few different ones. I want to do a lightning bolt over here. If your designs here cross over a letter, Because these are the most forward, closest to us thing, we've got to erase those lines. Would be perfectly fine to have some of these things cross over. You'll just have to tidy up your lines and erase them so that the overlapping looks right. We all know how to make a star with this sort of framework, and then we can erase the guts of it and make the outside heavier. And then one of the things that was happening with the stars is they had lines leading from them in the example. I'm also going to come down here and try out one of these sort of explosion shapes down here. So that goes like this. Sort of pick a center and just have all these spikes coming from around. And then I can erase that middle. Another neat one was the cloud that had the series of bumps here for the cloud. Keep it simple. Remember that these artworks were sort of inspired by comics, which tend to be more simple. And then the cloud had lines leading from wherever the word was. Now that I have this much done and I've got my little additions, I'm now going to work on my layers in the background. So we've got two things happening before we have our full background color. In this one, the background is blue, but we've got these two shapes happening on top. Same here with Wham, background being blue, but we have these two shapes coming from behind the word, and I hope you understand that that is creating overlap and some dimension or depth into this picture where we have these layers happening. So let's think about that as we create ours. So behind my word love, I'm going to create a, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that sort of sculptured one that was the dips. It matched the word bang here. So it was these dips leading in. I'm going to do that one. If you want to do the spiky one or the bump one, all of those things are perfectly fine. So again, for me, I have to think about going underneath some of my, this is a little bit tricky just because so many things are in the way, but we'll be fine. I can start and stop here and there. See how so many things are getting in the way, but I'm fine to keep going. I just imagine the line is going underneath all those things. This will give me a chance to do one color on that and another color on the next shape, which for me will also be that bump shape. Doesn't have to match those perfectly. Can even go behind it. I'm going to let that be back there, bring it back out here. So I've got two layers happening here on top of my word love. And now I'm ready for color. If you have the chance to grab a Sharpie marker from somewhere in your house, common material in most homes, Sharpie, or even just a black marker from your set, this project will look awesome with some heavier outlines. I'm not going to make you watch me do all of those, but if we come back now to the example, let me show you that you need a color selected for your word. You then need a couple colors for those background shapes we just did. So in this one, it's white and black. You could just choose a color for that one. Next shape has red before going to blue in the background. Try to have all the little additions like stars, lightning bolts, and the cloud shapes. Try to help those stand out by picking different colors for those. And if you've got a set of markers in your house, awesome. This could also be done with crayons. I hope you look forward to coloring this, finishing this, and I hope you had a good time here looking at Roy Lichtenstein, who was one of the pop artists from America. Pop art was a movement in America, in art, and Roy's work started to look more like comic strips, and he tried to add words to his pop art images. We chose a positive four-letter word today, created block letters, if you needed to, we use that framework. And I'll leave you with one little tip here. Sometimes if you use a Sharpie marker to do your outlines, or again, maybe you're doing your outlines with a crayon, sometimes the Sharpie doesn't end up right on the line, so it's nice before you start coloring to erase some of those lines that didn't quite get right on the money, and that will help to improve the neatness of your artwork. All right, so today right now I'm gonna release you to color this image. I hope you enjoy choosing the positive 4-letter word, creating the block letters, and coloring the artwork. Have fun.